Good evening. Welcome to the Private Property Farming Podcast. My name is Mbali Noko, and I'm your host for this evening. In actual fact, your host every Tuesdays and Thursdays of the Farming Podcast brought to you by Private Property. I'm happy to let you know that this evening we've got a return guest. One of my favorites, if I had to put out a disclaimer, Leeko Makoene, because she's such a thriving agricultural entrepreneur and has been in the industry for many, many years. She has been a hands-on farmer and has a wonderful company called Made with Rural. We did have onto the show previously, I think it was last year, and if you missed that first conversation, I think it's critical for you to go back and watch what she had to say about Made with Rural, because that conversation primarily focused on Made with Rural and the phenomenal work that she's doing on the ground with farmers and the journey that she has gone through with farmers and clients, corporate clients, to say on how they have been able to develop the agricultural industry over and above the many things that she does. But today we have her back onto the show for something slightly different. And we are talking about agricultural tours or farm tours. And if you have been thinking about ways to spend your holidays, your weekends during COVID lockdown, perhaps it's time for you to take a visit at some farms. Get to know where your food comes from. Get to know how food is processed, how livestock is raised if you've never been on a farm. And I think today's topic is especially one for you, especially if you want to explore during the COVID or lockdown period. Farms are the best ways to get out there because, I mean, we are in secluded areas. We're in urban, peri-urban, and rural areas. And I think, it's something quite interesting that you could do in your spare time to get around and know where your food comes from, but most importantly, know who the farmer is. So today we're talking about agricultural tours or farm tours, and this is an initiative that Leeko from Made with Rural has within a company, and it's called Farm Connect. But before we get her onto the show, and I must just add that she is having a bit of a technical issue at the moment with her video or live stream recording. So when she speaks, we'll just put her audio up. However, please forgive us that she's unable to join us today. And so she's unable to join us today where you could see her face rather. So, but before I bring her on, I just want to say that if you've got any comments, questions, please do let us know, and also share this video at the end for anybody who you feel might be interested in wanting to get to know a bit more about farm tours. And we will put Leeko's contacts on our YouTube channel post the live today. Leeko, thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, I can't see you, but audio's great because what you have to say is important. How are you doing this evening?
Good evening, Bali. Thanks for having me. I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. Thank you for returning back to the Private Property Podcast. And today we're talking about something a little different, agri-tours. Maybe just give us a brief background in terms of what Farm Connect does, a bit more than just the agri-tours.
Okay, so Farm Connect is a platform that, exposes any person really who's interested in the agricultural space or its value chain to the farms. So we expose you to the actual work that gets done on every farm. It's all good and well to want the land back, to want to make farming sexy, to want to get in it. But if you don't really know what actually happens, the amount of work that goes into producing many different things, not just food. It can be flowers, it can be fish, it can be honey, all sorts of things. So the platform, affords any person who is interested in the food industry or the agricultural space to come through and tour the different farms with us. While you're there, you can engage with, the farmer, the farm workers, and see them different divisions within that farm and what they do, and you can decide for yourself, right? Sometimes it's easy to say, I want to get into farming, but what type of farming would you like to get into? Or do you understand just how vast the agri-value chain is? And maybe it's not primary farming that you are interested in, but it's the distribution thereof, that will tickle your fancy. So it's just a platform that says, come with an open mind, see what the agricultural industry has to offer, and see where you can really plug yourself in. And sometimes it's your children, it's not you, maybe, who are interested, or they don't understand, the agri-value chain or where their food comes from. They think it comes from the retail stores. So it's also good to just expose them to that side of the food chain.
Right. And what activities are brought in the Farm Connect program, if I could say, or the daily visit or tours? Do individuals get to the farm? Does the farmer have an itinerary, or do you provide an itinerary? What activities does one get to explore during the Farm Connect tour?
Okay, so with each tour, we choose like different farms. With this specific tour that's upcoming on the 16th of June, we'll be visiting a flower farm and a juice processing farm, and then the activities that are linked to those two will be master classes in how to make biltong and sausages, and the other one will be in wine tasting, right? So with the flower farm, we get there. It's a commercial farm. It's huge. They export flowers. So we will get in and be shown, different aspect of, how that bouquet is finally put together. So these are, your bouquets that you find in your major retail stores. Sometimes you just grab it, oh, it looks nice, but you don't understand the process, of getting it to look that way. That sometimes they don't have enough red flowers in stock, and they have to dye their yellow flowers or white flowers to make them red. So all of those things you'll be taken through that whole process, just to understand how, a retailer, for instance, will purchase a certain design of a bouquet. So it's not just you put together however way you feel like. There's a standardized method in which, these bouquets get put together, and how these flowers get taken care of, grown until they get to that final stage. And then with the juice processing plant, it's on a carrot farm. They grow carrots and a whole lot of other beetroots and tomatoes, and then they process some of them into vegetable juices. So we will do a walkabout and see, how that process also works from beginning to end, and to eventually, these are juices that we come across on the retail shelves from time to time, but we just don't understand how, they were processed. So the tours are there for that, to allow you, that exposure to see how these things are put together before they finally reach your table or your household.
Oh, awesome. And tell me, just with the Farm Connect experience, sorry, I just went blank there. With the Farm Connect experience, right, do the farmers come to you and say, Made with Rural, we would like to work with you maybe to have our farm showcased to a larger audience, or do you pick the farmers in terms of which farms would be best to host farm tours?
It's twofold. So you do find farmers, that reach out to us to just have them on our list of sites to visit. And then we also have, farms, particularly your mega farms, that we have visited before, and we really think they are worth showcasing, particularly for the smaller farmer that would like to grow, to just see what commercial looks like or what mega farming looks like. So it's a mix of both. We work with both big and small farmers, and tailor make our tours to suit, the audience. We've had a group come through from Nigeria of extension officers that wanted to see, a balance, a bit of both. So we took them to, your smaller growers, and also to your mega farmers, where they could then be able to compare and do their research and also just learn a little bit in comparison with how things are like in their home country. So we open to farmers reaching out and telling us a little bit more, but obviously it has to be something slightly different. It can't just be like a small garden, a home sort of garden. It has to be a farm that you are farming for commercial reasons, so that the people can make that connection, with the product that they purchase from the retail stores or they purchase from really anywhere else. If you're supplying restaurants, we've had a group that was interested in organic farming, and they always used to get these nice looking, forgot the name, but I'll just say indigenous vegetables, and they wanted to see how those were grown. And we took them to such an establishment. So any farmer really that's doing an amazing work out there, they welcome to reach out, and then we can put them on the program. We showcase different farmers with every trip. So even, with the participants, you're welcome to come through more than once, because we don't do the same farm over and over again.
All right, awesome. So you said you had a group from Nigeria, and we all know that we're still in a global pandemic and in lockdown. How are we, and for people that are listening and are thinking, wow, this sounds like a great initiative. I want to see farms because I want to start a farm one day. A lot of our audience that gets to watch the Private Property Farming podcast are interested in farming. So this is a fantastic initiative. But for people that are watching and listening, or who will be listening later on and are thinking, this is something I'd like to attend. How are you managing the farm tours amidst, lockdown at the moment?
This will actually be our first tour, post sort of in level 1. Okay. We haven't really had any during the lockdown period. Even the farms themselves, they're not comfortable, with having large groups visiting during this period. That's why even with this one, we could only open it up to 20 people. And strict, COVID protocols are going to be followed. We've specifically chosen farms that are very close to our office so that we can all meet there and all travel in our own cars, get there, we wearing masks, we sanitizing all the time. So we keeping it small and tight, and we following the COVID protocols of each farm. They've already sent through the forms. We're going to need to, they're going to check our temperatures and we have to be dressed in masks when we get there. Yes. So even when we come back and do the activities that are going to be done at the butchery, with the meat processing and sausage making and biltong making masterclass and wine tasting, we're still going to be very responsible and make sure that we protected and safe.
Wow, that was actually one of my follow-up questions, to understand how big are the groups that you're taking in for the farm tours. Right now, you mentioned something about 20. Let's say there wasn't a pandemic. What's the plan for the farm tours? Could you look at taking bigger groups, or will it always just remain at plus minus 20 individuals to visit a farm? Or would it also be decreased based on how big the farm is?
Yeah, it depends. Again, in Bali, this is also our first daily tour. So we've actually done like an agri camp. That's how we used to term them. So it will be an agri camp and a tour, and you'll be based on the farm for 5 to 7 days on a working farm. You wake up, you go and do a bit of work with the farm workers, collect the eggs for breakfast, milk the cows, that kind of a up. So this is going to be, so we've also had to tweak it a little bit because of the pandemic to do it like this. So it's just going to be like a one day, we go visit the two farms, because normally we will just have, the 5 days that you are with us on the farm, we will be visiting different farms like daily. So if you're there for 5 days, you'll have like a day where we go to a particular farm and come back. The largest group that we've had is 50 people. And there was no COVID back then. We all traveled in a minibus. And it was quite nice. I mean, we even did inter-provincial connections. So we had a day where we traveled all the way to Welkom in the Free State to visit like a well-established cattle farm, and they have an abattoir as well and a feedlot. And we went again to Mpumalanga, in that whole week. So we trying to change the face of agritourism in South Africa. I mean, it has always been there, but it has always been, the fun side of it, the wine tasting, the cheese, whatever, the wine routes, all of that. So that's good and well. But then now we're trying to just put a little bit of meat to that bone and say, but there is much, much more to farming than just wining and dining. We can use it to learn and to impart knowledge and to acquire new skills. And so that's the angle that we are pitching it at, to say, yes, the wining and the dining and the networking is going to be there, but then we must also not forget, the extreme and hard work that goes into producing those products that afford us, that luxurious type of life. So our largest group has been 50 pre-COVID, and it's been a week thing where people come. I mean, we've had also people in tents on the farm. It's just like an amazing get together of like-minded individuals that would like to learn more about the industry or to even start their own agribusinesses, to say, hey, before I do, maybe let me go and mingle with other like-minded people and expose myself to different type of farms and see which one, speaks to my heart. For me, the idea came from, I went on a similar tour, to Israel, about 4 years ago. And I came back a different person. And I realized just how important exposure is. I always say, I was talking to a childhood friend of mine to say, when I was growing up in Mafikeng, I lived in Unit 7. And the rich people lived in Unit 3, Unit 6. And all I wanted was to work hard and get out of Unit 7 and go and build a house in Unit 6, until I came to Joburg and went to Cape Town and started seeing, Camps Bay, oh my gosh, no, hell no, forget Unit 6, I'm never going back there. I want a Camps Bay kind of lifestyle, Yeah. So it's the same thing to say, just expose yourself to what's out there, dream bigger, and disrupt things. We can't all want to do same old. Let's do things differently, but we can only do that if we've researched, if we've seen better, then we can be able to expand our brains to dream bigger.
Wow, Leeko, it's like today we're in sync because you actually are answering all the questions I was going to ask. But this sounds like a farm tour on steroids. Firstly, I'm so happy to hear that, wow, it's a whole week's tour. You've had one of those tours where people come onto the farm, they camp there for 5 days, they wake up, they fetch their eggs, they milk the cows. I like the fact that there's so much diversity in the tour and it's just not a one-day trip thing. But I obviously understand that this is per farm specific requirements and what's happening on that day and how you plan the tours. And it's also great to hear that you are not specifically picking farms within Gauteng, that you are actually visiting other farms in different provinces. And I think you're spot on when you talk about exposure, you know, because there's so many people that haven't been out of Gauteng, for example, or have been to many tourist destinations, but don't know or understand the real work that farmers do in those tourist destinations that bring a whole economy into that province. But this sounds so exciting. What has been like some of the feedback from the people that have attended the farm tours or Farm Connect?
Oh, I have to share this. It was a tour that we did with 7 to 14-year-olds, right? And we went to this juice farm, to this juice factory, and then after that, you know, we did also the Crocodile Farm, and they saw how they farm these crocodiles, you know, for their skins, to supply the bag industry and all of that. But right after that tour, we had run out of water, so we decided to stop at the spa in the area. Oh my gosh, you should have seen those little children's faces when they saw these juices inside the shop. Like, oh my gosh. And the parents also were like, thank you so much, because now, and these are vegetable juices, right? So they said, now my child is asking me to buy that particular brand for their lunch tins, you know. Wow. And that was good, you know, for them to make that connection, to say, oh, hang on, I saw that carrot being harvested and how it was transported all the way to the factory, and how they did the sorting, and the bad ones went into they've got like a biogas dome, you know, it went into the biogas dome, and then the quality ones went for the export market, and the other ones, you know, went for the juice making. And finally, this is what I'm holding inside this box and sipping, and it tastes so good, you know. And this is a child that has never, you know, drank vegetable juice before, or, you know, even had the desire to. But now, because they've been there, they've tasted it, and they've seen how it's made, and they've interacted with the workers. That's also another important aspect of it. You know, we interact with the people that work there. So we see them, we see the faces, we see their hard work behind that product. So, you know, and this is, and another thing is, you know, you get a code, you know, as a vegetable farmer, you should know this. You'll get a code. If you are maybe branding for a retail store, you'll get a code, you know, for traceability reasons. So they will walk into a retail store and start flipping the lettuces around to check what's the code. Oh no, I'm not gonna buy this. It doesn't come from that farm, you know. And how they were memorizing these codes to say, you know, we're gonna tell our parents when we go to a store, we have to buy this particular code because it's from that farm, you know. So they start making these links and start seeing faces and people, you know, in those brands, and the hard work and the sweat that went into, and the love that went into producing those products. So that has been my highlight, you know, for parents to phone and say, wow, finally, I get this guy, I don't even have to beg. He's asking for the carrot juice, you know, every single time I go grocery shopping, because now they understand the whole process of making that.
Wow, that is fantastic. Definitely a wonderful story, and great feedback for you and the team as well. Leeko, we have a question here from Matthews Mohorosi, and he asks, how can I get financial assistance to start poultry farming, as I'm presently doing a mixed farming course for 3 months? So I know we're talking about farming tours, and Matthew's question is specifically directed into getting financial assistance to start his poultry farming business. Would there be a possibility of doing a farm connect with a poultry farm in the near future, where Matthews can perhaps come and attend?
Yes, we actually were supposed to go to one. It's just that unfortunately they got hit by avian flu, and then so that had to be cancelled. So that's another thing, with these farms, we have to be very flexible. Also, when we book, because sometimes the farmer can come back and say, "Hey, listen, I can't accommodate you anymore because of a certain disease maybe that has hit them." But, Matthew, you can follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. We will have one soon. But in terms of funding, Mbali, the space that we operate in, it's very hard to be funded. I would suggest to Matthew that, he starts small. I know it's farming, volumes matter and all of that. But, it's more especially that he's only studying or doing a course related to poultry farming now. Maybe he can give himself 6 months to a year or two, whatever cycles, to just do it from his own pocket and maybe crowdfund, from his neighborhood, sell the produce before it's ready. So if he's going to be growing day-old chicks, he can start selling those chickens now to his community people that want to support. They give him the money in advance, and then he uses that money to start. I mean, that's how some of us started.
Yes.
Farming is a very tricky industry or sector to fund. So the risks are very high. A lot of funders run away from beginners, So at least if he can start by himself and then build his profile, until someone can be able to look at him as someone that's not high risk anymore.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Leeko. And just to close off our conversation tonight, I mean, you've mentioned the importance of individuals signing up to Farm Connect and visiting farms and understanding the entire process from A to Z, furthermore into the logistics part of it, the whole value chain pretty much to where the product gets to retail or at a restaurant or whatever the case might be. But just for farmers that are listening, like myself, how important is it to open up our farms to individuals or work with Made with Rural? How important is it to just maybe expose the work that we're doing on our farms, and what value does it bring to us as farmers, just so that we can get more farmers signing up and saying, please, Made with Rural, I want my farm to be next because I feel that the work that I'm doing is, very important and I'm contributing to my nearby community, etc. So how can we get more farmers into Farm Connect, and how important is it for farmers to open their farms to the greater community?
This is also another form of like an income stream for farmers, because what we do with every tour, there's a set fee that we charge each participant. And from that money, we make sure we leave something on each farm that we visit. So if you're a farmer that's producing vegetables, you can charge us an entry fee of sorts, to be on the farm, and that can include some of the products that you sell. Like when we visit, for instance, we'll visit a mushroom farm, they contribute to the kitty or to the goodie bag that, the participant will then be able to take home. If it's strawberries, spinach, whatever it is that you are selling, we're there for that. We're not just there, to use your time and walk around your farm. We do understand that, you had to prepare for us. And some of our hosts, they prepare some snacks for us. And that's also included in that farm price, the farm visit price that they charge us. So you can design packages, for yourself as a farmer and tell us that, hey, Made with Rural, we've got our farm. You can come through and visit it. We'll charge a certain amount per person, and that will include ABC. And we will put it together. If it's some few products, we'll put them together with whichever other products that we're going to be collecting along the way. So this is another form of income for the farmer, especially during the downtimes. It's winter time now. We know, the farm is not as busy as it is in summer. So this is something to really look into and include it as part of your income stream. A friend was telling me the other day that, hey, you have to register on Airbnb. Apparently, they've got a section on experiences and things like that, so rather than the farmer doing it on their own, it's also good to do it with a company like ours, because it won't be boring. Like, it won't just be one farm and that's it. If we come together, then that, okay, Made with Rural is going to have 2 other farms also lined up for the day, and some other activities, just so we make it with a participant's while.
Awesome. And Leeko, last question before I let you go, I promise. I just want to know, when working with the farmers, and for any farmer who's listening and just heard that, wow, it has to be 5 days, etc. There are smaller commercial farms. So when I say smaller, maybe in terms of land, it could be a 5-hectare farm, with like 100 tunnels, for example, but maybe they can't accommodate people coming to the farm for 5 days. Do you also work with farmers maybe who say, Made with Rural, I can accommodate people for maybe about 6 hours at my farm to take them throughout my entire process? Would you work with farmers like that instead of a whole week farm tour?
Yes. That's how we do it. Sorry, maybe it wasn't clear in the beginning, but that's exactly how we do it. So the base farm it's our own farm. It's not the sites that we visit. So we have a base camp where we sleep and do all these things, and then we come out to visit the different farms. So yeah, we don't even spend 6 hours there. That's too long. We there for 2 to 3 hours. You take us through your farm. We sit down and interact with you. We interact with your different foremen or workers on the ground, just to find out certain things, and we out of your hair. So it's not a full day's affair on your particular farm. No, it will just be a maximum of 3 hours.
Awesome. That was so fantastic, Leeko. So right now, you said the next one is coming up on the 16th of June. People could follow you Made with Rural on Instagram, on Facebook, to get more details about the next farm tour. And I'm just glad that you're also incorporating kids, and just to always hear these lovely feedback stories where kids really get to see that, oh, mommy, daddy at the shelves in the retail store, that, oh, this is the vegetable that I saw at Mr. or Mrs. XY farm. So I'm glad that it's really a mixture of between young and old, because I think it's very, very important to expose everybody to the farming industry, because it's not an industry that is always talked about in mainstream media, and a lot of people just don't know where farms are located. So I'm glad you are running this initiative, and more so for farmers. Basically, in what you said is that, especially during the downturn months, they could take advantage of working with Made with Rural on Farm Connect, just to add, get a bit more revenue, or a little bit of revenue during the downturn months where there's not much production happening on the farm. But thank you so much, Leeko, for your time this evening. And wish you all the best with Farm Connect. And please just share some more photos on social media. We want to see, the different farms you're visiting. And I hope we can get more farmers signed up, because this sounds like an awesome opportunity as well.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Mbali. Hope next time I'll be able to show my face. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, well, for anybody that's wondering how Leeko looks tonight, besides the pretty photo that we've got displayed, definitely go back and find the first conversation we had with Leeko on our YouTube channel, under the farming podcast playlist. Once again, it's Private Property YouTube channel under the Farming Podcast playlist. I think we had a discussion with Leeko just around Made with Rural, how she's working with farmers to develop them for any business challenges that they're having. And I know she worked with corporates, with enterprise development, and she brings on some stories, or success stories rather, of how farmers have benefited from her Made with Rural's partnership with corporate entities. So that was our first conversation. But if you're just joining us this evening, unfortunately, we've come to an end. And we had Leeko Makoene, CEO of Made with Rural, talking to us about Farm Connect. Basically, it's all about agri-tours, the importance of you as an individual going out and visiting farms, knowing where your food comes from, knowing how livestock is raised, and pretty much getting your hands dirty for the first time, maybe in a million years. Just wake up at a farm, go grab some eggs, go milk some cows, go see how the whole production and process takes place until you see the final product at retail stores. This is the type of experience that you could get at Farm Connect, not only for yourself as an adult, but also for your children. I think it's important letting our children know where their food comes from and how food is produced, most importantly. So, like I said, if you're thinking of ways to just get out during the pandemic, especially in your downtime, contact Leeko from Made with Rural. Look out on their social media pages on Facebook and Instagram. Maybe join one of their farm tours. I think it will help. And they're obviously following all COVID protocols, which is an exceptional thing. And again, I think farms are just the best place to explore because pretty much most of them are out or away from the city. So if you missed today's show, you could watch it on YouTube once again and reach out to Leeko on their social media platforms or visit their website. But thank you so much for joining us this evening. That is it for me. My name is Untitled, and I look forward to seeing you again on Thursday, where we have another lovely guest discussing all things farming. Thank you.